Hello everybody, Corinne Smith here with something a little bit different today. I thought it might be fun to go back and look at the 45s that I bought as a teenager. Yes, I still have them. And the first part of them are stored in this handsome carrying case. Doesn't this just scream 1970? And look where I bought it. Two Guys. Remember that store at the corner of Columbia Avenue and Rohrstown Road? I also have another one that doesn't have quite as much character. So I thought it might be fun to go back because my choices of music when I was a teenager might indicate the kind of person I was at the time. Might shed some light on the person that I've become. Don't know. Because I still like a lot of these songs. And back then, for a lot of them, I never even played the flip side. Until the other night, when I got them all out, played both sides, danced around the living room. Jackie Cat can attest to that. Anyway, first some background before we start. I'm an only child, so I did not have the benefit of older siblings who could play for me the best music of the 60s and 70s. I had to listen to the radio and watch variety shows on TV to figure this stuff out for myself. My parents and I usually listened to WHP from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania in the mornings while we ate breakfast. WHP was a middle-of-the-road station, and Ron Drake was the morning man at the time. He was great. He was the kind of guy who would actually go out on a really hot August morning and see if you could fry an egg on the sidewalk. Yeah, I loved him. I even called him once with a record request, and he played it for me. So, love that. Then, after I got home from school later in the day, I would spend some time in my room listening to radio on my orange clock radio. Probably the stations WSBA from York and WLAN from Lancaster, I think. Both of them were top 40 at the time. That's what I listened to. And these were my musical influences until I went to college and broadened my horizons and became a radio disc jockey myself. Now, I got a small allowance every week, which covered school lunches at the high school and then a couple extra dollars. So I didn't have much money to spend, but you know, these weren't that expensive back then. And in the late 1960s, I started buying record albums for myself. And my first love was the Monkees. Yes, I was a Monkee person, not a Beatles person, and I still have all of my Monkee albums. Mickey Dolenz, Be Still My Heart. Yes. And then, as we got into the early 70s, I bought albums of another group that I really loved, which were the Carpenters. And I still have all of the Carpenters albums. Yep. Fun fact, my very first popular music concert was with my parents and my friend Debbie Mylan, and we went to the Hershey Arena in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Saw the Carpenters. This was spring of 1971. Opening act was Mark Lindsay, and he, of course, sang his great hit, Arizona, take off your rainbow shades. Arizona, hey, won't you go my way? Remember? Yeah, that was my first concert. So, my rule for myself was that I bought albums of the groups that I really wanted all of their music. If I bought a 45, it was because I only wanted that particular song. So I never bought singles from the Monkees or the Carpenters or John Denver. I bought albums instead. So, for individual singles, what were my choices? Might be quirky and humorous, might be romantic, might be mournful for some reason. Or it might be because of the chord progressions or the guitar work or dramatic finales. Or maybe songs that answered questions for me that I had as a teenager. So let's start with this first box. Handy filing system, had a front guide that you wrote the titles and the artists' names. And then it had little numbers, adhesive numbers that you licked, and you put the number on the record. As a potential future librarian, tell me, I love this system. I thought it was great. In other words, these are the records that I got in order, in accession order, as we would say, in the order I purchased them in, okay? Not as number one is a favorite. Because number one is a Tennessee Birdwalk and the Clock of St. James by Jack Blanchard and Misty Morgan. This is a quirky song. I must have heard it from Ron Drake on WHP because I don't think the top 40 stations would have played it, even though it did spend 8 weeks on the charts in the spring of 1970. I'm going to sing you the first verse in case you don't know it. Take away the trees and the birds will have to sit upon the ground. Take away their wings and the birds will have to walk to get around. Take away the bird bass and dirty birds will soon be everywhere. Take away their feathers and the birds will have to walk in wonder where. Take away their and the birds will have to whisper when they sing. Chirp, chirp. Take away their common sense and they'll be headed southward in the spring. So remember me, my darling, when spring is in the air and the bald-headed birds are whispering everywhere when you see them walking southward in their dirty underwear. It's a Tennessee Birdwalk. That's just the first verse. In the second verse, everything comes back. Why did I like that song? I thought it was funny and I thought it was cool at the same time. I'm including links below to all of these songs so that you can hear them if you don't remember what they were. I'll bet you remember this one. Number 2 is I'll Be There, and One More Chance by the Jackson 5. I'll be there, just call my name and I'll be there. Ooh, it wasn't that low because it was young Michael Jackson singing it, of course. This one is special to me because I took it to music class in 8th grade. Yes, Mr. Stein's music class, we could get extra credit if we brought in records and talked about the groups and the songs. So I took in this copy of I'll Be There, and I talked about the Jacksons because I must have learned about them in 16 magazine or something like that. And yeah, I remember another classmate bringing in Fire and Rain by James Taylor. Yeah, I wasn't that sophisticated yet. And Mark, I think that was you. So number 3 is Hitchin' a Ride and Manchild by Vanity Fair. Hitchin' a ride, hitchin' a ride. This one might have attracted me because I like that whole 60s, 70s mystique of hitting the road and going and seeing things and liking to travel. And I still really love to travel. I drove to California and back from the East Coast last year. Anyway, I like the part of the song near the end where the cowbell was hitting and then the piano vamp went dun 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 dun. Do you remember that? That's what I liked. I might have even figured that out on the piano myself because I had 4 years of piano lessons in elementary school. Number 4 is Silver Moon and Lady of the Valley by Mike Nesmith and the First National Band. Standing in the lonely light of the silver moon with the unexpected destination of my home. Michael Nesmith of the Monkees. Of course, their show ended in 1968. The group officially disbanded for the first time in 1969, and Mike went out on his own. I really like the guitar sound on here. I don't know how I heard this one because it wasn't on the charts. A song that made it for him on the charts later was Joanne. Remember her name was Joanne? Yeah, that one you might remember. However, I was persuaded to investigate Mike Nesmith's album work, and I did buy Nevada Fighter and the Tidbit. The song that I love on this, Silver Moon, is not on here. The song that I love on this is called Propinquity, link below. It goes, I've known you for a long time, but I just begun to care. Oh, great. I used to play it on guitar myself, because of course I had learned guitar by then. I did get to see the 3 United Monkees a bunch of times in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and I'm glad that I finally got to see Mickey and Mike together just a few weeks before Mike passed away in 2021. Anyway, the Monkees weren't on TV anymore. But who was? The Partridge Family. Number 5 is I Think I Love You and Somebody Wants to Love You by the Partridge Family. David Cassidy, Be Still My Heart. Actually, at one point, I joined a David Cassidy fan club, and I got in return a stack of like 25, 50, I don't know, black and white photos of him, individual photos of him, about the size of a standard card deck, and black and white pictures. And for some reason, I took them into my 9th grade English class, where Mr. Quinn made fun of me for liking the Partridge Family. He passed them all around the room. I don't know if I still have them in a box somewhere. Why, oh why did I do that? Anyway, as a matter of fact, in my yearbook, Mr. Quinn wrote, here's Mr. Quinn, there's Mr. Quinn. He wrote, Corinne, best wishes for happy years at Hempfield. If you ever change your taste in music, come around and listen to some good music. Thank you, Mr. Quinn. I eventually did listen to good music, and we'll get to that eventually. Number 6 in our countdown here is Doesn't Somebody Want to Be Wanted? And You Are Always on My Mind by the Partridge Family. Okay, at this point I realized I needed the albums. So I bought the albums. Oh my God, I still have them. And I've even got a Christmas album by the Partridge Family. I don't think I've ever listened to this. It's Christmas time as I record this. Maybe I should put this one on my 1975 stereo, right? Yeah, yeah, I'll think about that. Okay. I did get to see David Cassidy in a concert for free in the 1990s, and I guess that provided closure for both of us. Number 7, Me and You and a Dog Named Boo and Walk Away From It All by Lobo. Me and you and a dog named Boo, traveling and a living off the land. Oh, just put this together with Hitchin' a Ride. It's that mystique. It's that travel bug. You know, everybody was doing it. You know, I wanted to do it too, but you know, there's only so much you can do when you're not old enough to have a driver's license yet. Right? Right. Now, this one might surprise you, given what I've already told you. Number 8 is What is Life and Apple Scruffs by George Harrison. This is surprising because I was not a Beatles fan, although I did used to watch the cartoons on Saturday mornings. Of course, the Beatles broke up in 1970. What is Life came out in early 1971. George Harrison had already gotten famous with My Sweet Lord. I think what caught my attention here is the opening guitar riff. That's it does demand your attention. It's still a good song. Great guitar work. Of course, it's George Harrison. Number 9, Lonely Days and Man for All Seasons by the Bee Gees, years before disco changed their lives and ours. Lonely days, lonely nights, where would I be without my woman? Now, at this point, I didn't have my own stereo yet. So if I wanted to listen to my records, I had to go out in the living room and put them on the big console unit, you know, the one with the TV in the middle and the record player on one side and the radio on the other. And so I would, depending on what my parents were doing and where they were in the house, I would put my records on and I would sing and dance in the living room, as one does. I remember one day, Mom was in the kitchen doing something, maybe ironing, and I put on Lonely Days and I'm singing and dancing along. And at the end she said, I don't know, where would you be without your woman? I don't know. Why was I even singing that? Sometimes you just go along and you're not paying attention to the lyrics and you're not paying attention to what you're saying. Anyway, what I love about Lonely Days is the dramatic, echoey version of the chorus at the end of the song. It builds up to this wonderful finale. Lonely Days, you know, oh, if you don't know what I mean, listen to it. Thank you, Brothers Gibb. I don't know. Where would I be without my woman? Number 10, and I have the number on here pasted upside down. Oh, I have it taped on. It must have fallen off. Have you ever seen the rain in Hey Tonight by the Creedence Clearwater Revival? Now, in this instance, I actually like Hey Tonight better than Have You Ever Seen the Rain? Now, I haven't mentioned my father specifically here yet. He was a professional musician who played with community bands and other groups at night and on weekends and on holidays, and so he knew music. And every time one particular song came on WHP in the morning, he would say, "Oh, it's a dumb song." And the song was, "Does anybody really know what time it is?" by Chicago. Because, of course, the first line is, "As I was walking down the street one day." And Daddy would say, "As I was walking down the street one day. As I was walking down the street one day." What kind of song is that? Anybody can write a song. What a dumb song. It's a good song. But what I didn't know until decades later, when he was in his 70s and I was probably in my late 40s, early 50s, is that he hated Have You Seen the Rain as much as that other song, because we were out at a restaurant and in the dining room the music came on and all of a sudden Have You Ever Seen the Rain came on, and he said, "That's a dumb song." I said, "Have you ever seen the rain?" He said, "Yeah, that's a dumb song." I said, "You know, I had the 45. He says, "I know, I know." And he never told me at the time he thought it was a dumb song. I said, "You know, it's a metaphor." He said, I know it's a metaphor." I'm not so sure he did. But he said it's still a dumb song. And anyway, whenever I hear Have You Ever Seen the Rain, I say, "There you go, Daddy. It's one of your dumb songs." I still like Hey Tonight better. It's a rocker. Number 11. The Lion Sleeps Tonight and Janet by Robert John. If I sing the beginning of this song, it will stay in all of our heads for the next 60 days. And besides, it's under sort of a copyright controversy these days. But you know, when you first heard this song, it was different and mesmerizing, and it stayed with you for a long time. After a while, though, kind of got to you, kind of, if you heard it too often. But did you ever see Billy Joel and Jimmy Fallon do it on The Late Show in a loop? Link below, unless the copyright gods took it off. Number 12, Without You and Gotta Get Up by Nilsson. Can't live if living is without you. It's the only Nilsson record that I have. Kind of mournful when you think about it. I guess, again, analyzing now, I like the quiet piano introduction. And then the fact that the final chord builds dramatically until it's lonely days, lonely nights, just like lonely days. This, you know, evidently I like the dramatic finish, you know. Can't live without you. Anyway, I like the dramatic finish. I still do. I still love this song. Dramatic finishes. My favorite piece of classical music is Rossini's William Tell Overture. Thanks, of course, to both Bugs Bunny and the Lone Ranger. Number 13, Alone Again, Naturally, and Save It by Gilbert O'Sullivan. Another mournful song, really, that grows even sadder as you get older. But I guess I might have related to it because I was an only child and I was alone a lot, which is what I liked and still do. Number 14, I'd Love You to Want Me and Am I True to Myself by Lobo. Second Lobo single that I bought after Me and You and a Dog Named Boo. I like the sound of this song. I also liked how the lyrics switched words around. Used the same words but switched them around back and forth between the two people. Word games, I like that kind of thing. Baby, I'd love you to want me the way that I want you, the way that it should be. Baby, you'd love me to want you the way that I want to, if you'd only let it be. Simple but intricate at the same time. I appreciate that kind of thoughtful writing. Still like it today. Number 15. Killing Me Softly with His Song and Just Like a Woman by Roberta Flack. Are you kidding me? A song about how much music means to you, and as if the songwriter knew exactly who you were and what you were going through. He sang as if he knew me in all my dark despair. And then he looked right through me as if I wasn't there. Oh, yes. How many of us can relate to this one? I still relate to it. Thank you, Roberta Flack. All right, we're up to number 16, which is Reelin' in the Years, and Only a Fool Would Say That by Steely Dan. Now we're up to the spring of 1973, and that means that I was in 10th grade. And I always equate this song with sitting on the front lawn of the high school at lunchtime, studying for the biology final that was coming up in the afternoon. We had strict administrators in our schools. They normally did not let us out of their sights, but later in the year, getting into June, it's getting hot. We didn't have air conditioning in that school then. They let us out onto the lawn at lunchtime, and I was sitting there one day studying for the biology final when an old friend happened to come by, and we started talking. Hadn't seen him in a while, and we started talking about music that we liked at the time, and Reeling in the Years came up as a topic of conversation. I don't remember what attracted me to this song, except that Steely Dan, it was a different kind of sound than we were used to. I got to see them in concert a little later too. Anyway, I hear this song now. It's 10th grade. I'm on the lawn studying for the biology final, and I'm talking to this friend. And I ended up not doing too terrifically well on the biology final. Not blaming the song or the guy, just saying. Now, we're taking all that momentum, bringing it down to, beautiful label on the 45 too, Clouds and I Like the Soap by David Gates. We had all of those wonderful romantic songs by Bread. And here's David Gates on his own around the same time that Bread broke up in 1973. I like the sound of this song. I like the lyrics. So I have to say goodbye until next time I fly. Ugh. Weren't a lot of our 1970s songs based on really nice poetry? I mean, really, when's the last time you heard Clouds? Go back and listen to it. In the meantime, ramping up energy again a lot with number 18, I'm a Rocker and Money Down by the Raspberries. I'm a rocker, I'm a roller, I've been a boogieing since I ditched the stroller. I told you, I used to sing and dance in the living room. This song has a great opening guitar riff right off the bat, and it continues throughout the song. And it's a 70s song, but in it, it goes back to the style of the old original rock songs from the 50s. Could be considered to be a quintessential example of a rock song. And it's not the only Raspberries single that I bought. It's the only one we're going to talk about today, though. So, I'm a Rocker by the Raspberries. Going back to the popular side of 70s music culture, we have number 19, Seasons in the Sun and Put the Bone In by Terry Jacks. It's melancholy, it's kind of like Alone Again Naturally, it's mournful. But I think one of the reasons I liked it was the way the chorus changed as the song went along. Chorus always started with, we had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. But then the next couplet would be different almost every time. And at the end, they kept on changing it around so that you weren't exactly sure at first when you heard the song which one it was going to be. You don't expect it at first. You expect consistency in the chorus, and this one shook up that expectation. By the time this song came out, it was spring of 74, which meant that I was in 11th grade, which meant that I had driver's ed 2 days a week in the classroom and 1 or 2 days out in the car. And out in the car, we had Mr. Nuremberg, our driver's ed teacher. That's his real name. And the classmates that I shared the driver's ed car were Tom and Jeff. Thank you, Tom and Jeff. You know who you are. Anyway, Mr. Nuremberg always had the radio on. It was spring of '74, Seasons in the Sun almost always came on in the afternoon, so we were driving around the neighborhood. Another song that almost always came on during our drives was The Streak by Ray Stevens. No, I'm not going to do it for you much. We're not going to talk about The Streak. Remember when people did that? But I do know that whole commentary by heart. Pardon me, sir, did you see what happened? Yeah, I did. The things you remember. Anyway, number 20, our last song for today. Searchin' So Long and Byblos by Chicago. Now that I understand that I like songs that build to dramatic finales, that have crescendos that go towards the end of the song. I'm sure that's why I like this song. It starts out quiet and tame. As my life goes on, I believe somehow something's changed. Then, a little more than halfway through the song, the music builds up to the dun 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 dun. You know what I mean? Until you're almost shouting at the top of your range, "Searching, don't you know why? Hell yeah, for an answer." Ah. Of course, I'm searching for an answer. I'm only, what, 16? Builds to this powerful conclusion. Thank you, Chicago. Got to see them at least once or twice in my lifetime, too. Anyway, those are the first 20 45s that I bought and put into my little psychedelic 1970s 45s box. I hope you enjoyed tripping down memory lane with me. This was not the only music I was listening to at the time. I bought albums, I bought other albums, I bought cassettes. But it's interesting to go back now and see what songs were important to me then, enough that I wanted to be able to hear them anytime I wanted to. You know, now with technological innovations, we can listen to any song we want to, anytime if we want to. But back then, this is the only way we could do it. Friends will tell you that I pretty much still live in the 70s. A lot of these songs and these groups I still listen to today. Matter of fact, I found a radio station that plays a lot of them regularly. And I want to put a promo in them, an informal promo for them. It's Classic Hits Vermont, WCVT 101.7. You can listen to it streaming online. They even play John Denver at least once a day. I heartily recommend making it one of your favorite streams. Classic Hits Vermont. Link below. So, I'm Corinne Smith. Thanks a lot for joining me here today. What do you think of these songs? Are any of these songs some of your favorites? Are any of these songs some of your unfavorites? Please leave a comment below. I guarantee you that I will do some further exploration of my 45s in the future. And you may very well be surprised at what comes next and what is lurking in these two boxes. Anyway, till then, so come and hold me tight, we can rock the night away. Dum 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 dum.